It's Monday noon, the time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents hour, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents hour, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and Abhi setting you free. AI agents hour, here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Agents Hour. As always, we're here. It's Monday, right around noon. I'm here with Abhi. What's up, dude?
What up?
And today, we have a pretty dang good show. I'm excited. We have a special guest coming on, a couple special guests, actually. We have Sherwood coming on, talking about his new launch, new company he just launched officially. We've known about it for a while. It's been in stealth, so excited to learn a little bit more about that. He's got some pretty interesting ideas I think we'll dig into. We are going to talk about something we released recently at Mastra, which is workspaces, and just what problems that solves. I think there's a lot of things that are applicable, whether you're using Mastra or not, that we'll talk about when we're talking about workspaces, specifically agent skills, file systems, sandboxes, all the things you need to kind of really build AI agents at scale. We're going to be talking with Tyler from the team about observational memory, which we just announced today, and then all the AI news, like always. How was your weekend, dude?
Dude, it was great. I mean, the Super Bowl was boring, but other than
It was
that,
pretty bad, yeah.
yeah. And I didn't see as many AI ads as I thought I would.
Dude, I was
But the ones that we
surprised.
saw were good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that kind of in the news section a little bit more, but I actually thought there'd be a lot more. I felt like there was, I didn't see one for. I expected to see some kind of Salesforce AI commercial. Last Super Bowl, I felt like we saw like 3 of those.
Yep.
I don't know if they're abandoning that or they're just decided they didn't want to spend the money this year, but I was expecting probably at least twice as many as we actually saw. So call me surprised, but I was slightly disappointed.
Yeah, there's some weird commercials too. And because the game was so boring, like I was looking towards the commercials to have fun, but I think overall it was kind of just like a lame game.
Yeah, definitely. Congrats to Sam Darnold, former Viking.
Former Viking and Niner.
Yeah, and Niner. But yeah, not the best game. Not great on the commercial side. So it is what it is.
For those in San Francisco, the city last week was so busy, so much traffic, so many events, all to culminate into this big game. So I think everyone had fun during the week, and then they got to the Super Bowl, and it was just like, never mind.
Yeah. But anyways, I think we should probably just go ahead and get right into it because we got a packed show. We got 3 guests coming on, and you know how these things sometimes stack up. Before we do bring on our first guest, if this is the first time you're watching this, welcome to Agents Hour. Thanks for being here. Make sure you go ahead and give us that like and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Please do check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We are changing up kind of how we do things, and we have a producer now, so things are getting. You're not just stuck with Abhi and I. You have someone a little bit better to help level up our game a bit more. So we appreciate that, and I think you'll see a lot of changes over the next couple months as we continue to just try to make improvements, try to make the show better. But feedback is welcome, so let us know. And with that, let's bring on our first guest. But I'm going to actually bring him on, and then we're going to talk about the launch.
Yo.
Sherwood, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh. Am I live right now?
You
Yes,
are.
you
You are absolutely live.
Cool. Wow, it happens quickly. What's up, guys? Good to see you.
Yeah,
good to
so I'm
see
going to
you
go
again,
ahead and I'm going to go ahead and introduce you in the segment, and then we'll go ahead and just dive right in. I'm going to show your launch video as well. So this is
Rock on.
Agents Hour. We're here with Sherwood Calloway, who just launched his new company, Sazabi, and I'm very excited to talk to Sherwood. And I know Abhi and I know Sherwood quite a bit, but I want to share the launch video because I think that's a good preface for what's going on. I'm sure you've seen it 100 times now, Sherwood, and you don't want to watch it again. But for everyone that hasn't seen it, I think it would be a good way. It would do a better introduction than I can do myself.
Honestly,
So-
you're probably better pitched than I can do at this too.
All right, so here we go. Let's see it.
My name is Sherwood Calloway, and I'm a software engineer. I've spent most of my career thinking about how to make developers happier and more productive. At Crunchbase, I built our CI/CD system and integration testing framework. At Brex, I founded the infrastructure and observability teams. AI is completely transforming our profession. Ideas become features in minutes. Agents review our PRs automatically. Sometimes we merge them without reading the code. Teams are shipping faster than ever. But as the old saying goes, when you move fast, you tend to break things. The new bottleneck in software development is reliability. How do we ship thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of lines of code per day without breaking production? The answer is observability, but not the kind we have today. We need something modern, something powerful, something that can keep up with today's fastest builders. And that's why I'm building Sazabi. Sazabi is an AI native observability platform designed for engineering teams who move fast. We're taking a radically different approach to observability, focused on outcomes, not features, and centered on 3 big ideas. First, less is more. Legacy observability tools are bloated with modules and dashboards that confuse more than they help. With Sazabi, debugging an incident is as simple as asking a question. Why is production down? We believe the best UI for observability is chat. Second, logs are all you need. You might have heard about the 3 pillars of observability. That idea is outdated. In practice, logs can do everything metrics and traces can do, and more. They're expressive, they're easy to use, and they're perfectly suited for AI. Cost and availability are real challenges, but we're solving them. Third, monitoring as we know it is dead. Creating and maintaining static monitors for fast-evolving systems is a fool's errand. Sazabi replaces traditional monitors with agentic anomaly detection. Think of it as a team of staff engineers that are constantly watching your app for issues. When something comes up, Sazabi investigates, and it only escalates what matters. Today, I'm proud to introduce Sazabi to the world and to announce our closed alpha program. We're accepting startups that have raised 10 million or more. To apply, visit Sazabi.com. There will be more apps deployed in 2026 than in all previous years combined. How will we support and maintain them? The solution is Sazabi.
Dang.
All right. Now
That was a sick video.
Dude, that was,
Thanks,
I
guys.
saw that
Yeah.
and I was like, this is pretty sweet.
Dude, and he had the
Yeah, I
power
think-
stance too, like while he was talking
Yeah.
about everything. Fucking love that.
They tell you to do that stance, and you're like, I'm
Dude,
not
but it
sure.
worked.
Yeah, it works.
I was captivated.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great launch video. So I guess that is the introduction. Now, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're
Yeah,
here.
thanks for having me on. It's good to be back. I feel like last time I was here, I had to be all shady. You know, I was just like a guy who was doing agents, and now I can be open about what I've been working on. And like we worked on that, been working on Sazabi for about 6 months, and worked on that video for about a month. So it's been a labor of love, and like really excited that I can share it with everybody.
So tell me a
So-
little bit about, what was the reason for Sazabi needing to exist? Obviously, you must have experienced a problem at some point or saw a problem and you realized there had to be a solution. So what was that? When did that hit? And how do you how did you get to this point?
It's a good question. We also talked a little bit about this, or about my journey on our the last time I was on Agents Hour, and I won't recap all of that for everyone, but the short version is that I started my career in infrastructure and DevOps, and spent a lot of time thinking about like CI/CD systems and production infrastructure and developer tooling and developer experience, and I just was really focused on how do I make my teams more productive. And then while I was at Brex, I helped start their infrastructure and observability teams. And that was actually the first time I'd heard about the term observability. I think it was kind of gaining steam, or it was becoming in vogue. This would have been like early mid 2019. It actually had gained steam, I think, when I go back and I look at sort of the origins of observability within the software industry. It had been gaining steam over the course of the 2010s, but it had really gotten to reach like a high water mark at the end of that decade. And I got the opportunity to help start that observability team, and it led me down a path that I thought was super interesting and compelling. I mean, observability at its core is about allowing people to ask questions about production systems that they did not anticipate themselves asking, and about mastering the chaos, so to speak, like understanding the state of your production systems and being able to slice and dice data in every different way. And I had been thoroughly like pilled with this idea that like you can't prevent issues in production. They're just going to happen. I mean, you can write a lot of unit tests, you can have smoke tests and integration tests, you can have QA, you can slow down your release process, you can do manual nightly releases, you can do all of it. But the reality is that you just can't predict what happens in production. And the only way that you can handle that is to mitigate it, which is like to have great observability, to be able to detect these issues when they happen, be able to roll back and be able to root cause them and fix them. So I was really obsessed with observability for a long time, and then I took a side quest and built my first startup, which was in the voice AI space. It was very different. And then after I exited that company, I was working at this new company, 11x, and really leaning into agents and agentic coding. And I felt like, oh my God, like the product I'm building is incredibly futuristic. The tools I'm using to build it are incredibly futuristic. But my experience of fixing production and just understanding bugs when they occur is almost the exact same as it has been for my entire career. I'm using the same tools to do it. It's like still Datadog and Sentry, still manual setup of dashboards and manual instrumentation, and manually root causing and triaging these alerts when they go off, and it just felt so backwards relative to the rest of what the modern software engineering experience. And so I was like, I need to do something about this, and I'm also like a great person to do this. Like if there was ever an idea that was the right fit for me, building an AI native observability platform is it, because it just combines all of my experiences and passion. And I like to think I have a little bit of taste when in this particular area, my lane. Yeah, so that was the genesis. That happened sort of spring, summer of last year. And once I got started thinking about like agentic root cause analysis and applying agents to this problem, I just got obsessed with it and raised some money and built a team, and now here we are.
It's awesome, dude. I think most projects, like when you go to production without any metrics or alerting or monitoring, you really are just starting with logs, right? Like that's kind of where debugging starts with developers, even locally. Then you go to production, and then it gets annoying because when you want to start doing metrics, you have to start buying some products, honeycombs of the world, the Datadogs of the world, New Relics and stuff. And then to alert on those metrics, some of those products have it built in, and then you have to go get incident IO and all the other BS that's out there. So like maybe over time people start loving these products, but how can we tell them that logs is all you need? Like, is it a mental shift for these types of engineers?
Yeah. And I guess for context, I mean, we watched the video. The logs are all you need is the second in our 3 core principles.
Yeah. This is the one I
most
wanted to talk
divisive.
most about. Was the logs?
Yeah.
Logs is all you need, because I feel like that's a little contentious, right? Like people are not going to buy into that.
Totally.
So
yeah. And that's welcome. I want, like, I'm happy to explain our rationale there. I think that it's grounded in where, it comes from my personal experience. Like, I think there's something actually similar about Sazabi and Mastra, and that, Mastra brought AI and brought agents to the TypeScript developer community and told everyone that you don't need to be a Python developer, an AI researcher, a PhD in order to build agents. And I also think there's something egalitarian about Sazabi, which is like, you don't need to be an observability expert or an SRE or a DevOps or infrastructure engineer to have amazing observability and to create reliable apps. Anyone should be able to do it. And it doesn't require you to like understand how to propagate trace context across services, or to set up a Prometheus server, or to know the difference between a gauge and a rate and a counter and a histogram. Like, you don't need any of that. You just need to be able to use logs. And that is that philosophy, I think, like, has struck a chord. I mean, I think people are really excited about it, and also and it's very divisive for observability traditionalists. This flies in the face of like one of the main principles, which is the 3 pillars of observability. Like, you need to have logs and metrics and traces in order to properly understand a system. And I think that that has just been an observability dogma for so long that people don't, they don't question it. But AI is a really big paradigm shift, and a lot of our previous assumptions, I think we can now start to question. And this is one of them. So with logs are all you need, more specifically, I can dig more into that if you guys want to talk about why we feel that way.
Yeah, please.
Oh, Shane, we're missing you, or I'm missing you.
Oh, well, one question I have regarding the logs is all you need is that, I guess and this goes with traces and metrics too, I guess, but context is key, right? And logs can be very context rich. There's going to be a lot of data, right, stored in logs, a lot of data that isn't that important. So one, like, how do you see that where you're getting all these logs? How do you sort, filter? Like, how does your platform do that? How are you thinking about that? And then, is it enough? How do you, like, can you go deep into why you think, a little deeper into why you think logs is really the information you need to make decisions, solve problems quickly, do all the things that if you're an SRE you have to do, and that's why you choose Sazabi, right?
Yeah, let me try to. There's a lot of ideas rolling around my head related to this. I'll try to answer your questions directly, Shane, but also add some context. The core idea behind logs are all you need is that you can use logs to accomplish the same use cases that you would typically use metrics and traces for. So the reason why this is possible is because all three of them are made of the same DNA, the same primitive, and that is an event. And there was a recent blog post that someone put out about wide events where they were saying logging sucks. Well, logs and wide events are the same thing.
Yeah.
A wide event is just a log with a lot of fields. So if you consider that logs are basically synonymous with events, and then metrics are aggregated events, right? And then traces are collections of start and end events. Like every span has a start and an end. So that means that using logs, you can reconstruct metrics and traces. And you can do the same things. Like I can even render a flame graph that's entirely built out of logs. Or I could render a time series that comes from logs. People might actually be familiar with the ability to create custom metrics from their log data in a traditional platform like Datadog. So now I guess the counter argument here is that for metrics, logs are a much less storage efficient way of representing, a single event than like a metric would be. Because with a metric, you'd probably collect that data over a course of an interval or observation window, and the actual size of the data that you end up storing is very tiny. And then for traces, you need to have some kind of correlation ID or trace ID or span ID that links all of these things. We think that we can get away without those exact characteristics. For metrics, for example, we can just store all of the log data and then create a materialized view on top of your logs, and then we've effectively created a bunch of metrics. Or for traces, oftentimes your log line does include something like a request ID or a trace ID, so we actually have a deterministic way to correlate log lines and reconstruct what looks like a trace. Or over time, we're able to observe the traffic pattern between services in your system. Like we know what your tech stack is, we know what your services are, your endpoints, how those services connect, what a normal traffic pattern looks like, what it looks like when someone signs up, what series of requests get called, and how do those ping pong through your distributed internal system. We can reconstruct those just by inferring those connections. And then we've effectively created traces and we can create service maps as well. So we can give you everything you want from all three pillars, but it's only the only cost you pay is the price of instrumenting just one.
Yeah.
And I think everyone can agree like logs are the most fun to instrument, the easiest. So it creates a much nicer user experience, and I think simple experiences tend to win. That's what we're.
I agree. I totally agree. And I love the approach because you can derive everything from a log for sure. Problem with metrics sometimes is you only get data from the day you started collecting that metric. But you want to be looking at data from the past or the future or whatever. I'm guessing in your platform you can just spin up metrics based on things. I mean, if it's even called a metric anymore, but you could start just doing things derived on your log set, right?
Yeah, I mean, you still need to send us log data. So if you weren't sending these logs previously, then there's not much for us to look at. Like the system becomes useful from the moment that you instrument, and we also have some clever ways of doing instrumentation to make that easier too. But I think that there's something larger here that's at play, which is that I don't think that in most cases people need that level of granularity or specificity or accuracy. What people need is something that's directionally correct. And we can actually give them, we can answer systems or questions about whether their application is working or not using a very limited amount of data, because the agent's able to fill in the gaps and because we have access to your code base. So even if your instrumentation isn't perfect on day one, we're going to be able to help you cause a lot of problems and identify a lot of problems. And then we actually have ways. We have a GitHub action that allows you to write logs back into your code base. So our agent can actually add instrumentation where you've missed it.
That's cool.
So we sometimes refer to it as fuzzy debugging. Of course, there are cases where you need a high degree of accuracy and granularity for things like profiling. Most people aren't running profiling on their web apps. They're maybe doing that if you're like building a compiler or a game in Rust or something like that. But for the vast majority of cases, this fuzzy debugging approach works super well, and it's a lot less work for developer teams.
Is Sazabi like proactive when things are maybe unhealthy, or is it more still like someone gets paged and then they still have to figure it out, or how does the user experience work there?
Great question. We aim for Sazabi to be a full replacement for something like Datadog or Sentry. The way my mental model for this is like observability platforms do have two jobs. They help you find issues and they help you fix them. And the fixing part is kind of root cause analysis, right? It's like helping you understand exactly, when you know there is a problem, like payments, like someone can't check out on the payments page, it's helping you understand why that is the case. But the finding issues is detection or monitoring or alerting. And we also used our same AI agent, the one that we are doing RCA with, for finding issues in the platform and alerting you about them. So we have our own approach to alerts as well. And it's entirely agentic, no setup required.
That's sick.
And it sounds like, you're starting to take on maybe early customers, but you're kind of limiting, to, you don't want to open the floodgates quite yet, it sounds like, right? So what are you looking for? Like how, when would it be the right choice to maybe reach out to you? Like who's the current target before you kind of open it up to everyone?
Yeah. In our launch video, we said we have a funding floor of 10 million. I think, we're trying to build this for fast growing engineering teams, and it's probably not very useful for solo builders or teams of 2 or 3. Observability is questionably useful at that stage anyways. We want to support teams who know what they're building and have customers live in production and that are growing. We have limited capacity on our end, so if you're still in the pivot phase, or if you're still really early, or you're building on your own, then you'll have to wait a little bit longer. We're targeting GA, but I'm hesitant to make full-on commitments.
You gotta be careful. You gotta be
Probably,
careful putting the data out in the world.
maybe Q3. Yeah, we have. We want to work with some of these. We're in closed alpha right now. We'll do closed beta here in a couple of months, and want to focus on our design partners right now. But yeah, companies like Mastra, I think, would be an awesome fit, and would love to put it in your guys' hands.
Yeah, whenever we can, we will. We have hella logs that need to be ingested, and it'd be awesome to have some proactivity there.
And so as we start to wrap up, Sazabi.com obviously is maybe one place to go if you want to learn a little bit more. I think people could probably reach out and follow you too on X, SH Callaway. Any other way,
These are probably the best ways. Sazabi.com, sign up for a waitlist, and then once you're on the waitlist, you'll get all of our future email comms. Follow us on X. We are on X. We're at Sazabi, so Sazabi, and we're also at Sazabi on LinkedIn. And then follow me on X too if you like memes and less serious content.
Yeah, who doesn't like a good meme here or there?
Yeah. So. I would love to hear from anyone if you're interested in what we're building, and we are hiring too. So looking to hire engineers, ideally based here in San Francisco. So if people are looking for new roles and want to build the future of observability, build self-healing software, which I think is an exciting vision, come check us out. And yeah, thank you guys. Thanks
I've met their team. They're cracked. They're really cool. They can drink beers. It's great.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, Sherwood. Thanks for coming on. As you get further along, I'm sure we're going to have you back again to give us some updates and talk even more deep dives into what AI observability should look like.
Yeah. Rock on, guys. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. See you, Sherwood.
Peace.
All right, dude. We got a bunch in the chat. We should probably do some follow-up on. There's a random Mastra question, which, we didn't forget about you, Austin. What's the best way to get a little one-on-one support for a Mastra project? Discord's probably the best starting spot. And then, if Discord doesn't work, feel free to reach out to us directly. But if you go to our Discord, it's very active. There's a lot of people from the team are there answering questions. So please reach out there. I think that's the best way to go if you're getting started. And yeah, a lot of good comments from Khalid and Ruben, and
Solid concept.
yeah.
Nice.
With that, I think we can probably move to the next segment. We talked observability tools, I guess, and monitoring. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Mastra specifically. So let's bring on Nick, and then we'll kind of do a quick introduction on what we're talking about next.
Let's do it. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. All right. This is Agents Hour. We are talking with Nick Aiyer. So he's the founding engineer at Mastra, just happens to be Abhi's brother as well. And
Yep.
we are talking about a recent release of Mastra, a new feature, which is workspaces. We're going to talk a little bit about what workspaces are, what problems they solve. Yeah, some of this will be Mastra specific, but I think there's some general applicable things if you're building agents to think about as you're actually building them out. We're going to talk sandboxes, agent skills, file systems, all that. So welcome to the show, Nick.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about workspaces. We've been doing a lot of work. So working on it, trying to make it good. So hopefully,
Yeah,
can you talk about it?
Yeah, can you tell us just a little bit high level, what is Mastra Workspaces and what problem is it trying to solve?
Mastra Workspaces is a way for us to kind of unify a lot of different ideas. So we have users want to be able to use skills. That's a big thing of what they want to do now. But they also need skills also need a file system to live on. If you want to update skills, add skills, install new ones, as well as that, you also want to be able to use a sandbox. You want your agent to be able to execute commands and do other kind of shell-related items. So Workspace is a way to like combine all these things together. So you have a sandbox, you have a file system, you also have skills that you're able to use in one primitive. This right there, and it's able to use this. It's able to give the agents a bunch of tools and capabilities in order to be able to handle all of this at once, and makes it pretty powerful. This allows you to pretty much make your agent kind of a general purpose agent. Before a lot of users would need to make specialized agents to do certain things, and have certain tools in order to do so. But with this workspace feature, you can really design an agent to do pretty much everything you would want. Since it has access to the workspace, it has access to skills. It's able to work within a file system as well as have any kind of skill it needs in its context to properly get any task done.
I think workspaces are a really nice unlock because people who wanted to use file systems, I guess before, it all started with MCP, like the local file system MCP, or a Docker container. And then you would have to wire your own tools to do so, to even interact with that, with different permission levels and stuff. Then with skills, when skills came on the scene, it being part of your project in the file system, at the time, Mastra agent is more of like something you deploy to production and maybe it hits some SaaS services and stuff. No one really had like a concept of the file system that you're shipping alongside with it. So we wanted to put all these things together. If skills exist in a file system, then your agent should be able to read the file system, write to the file system. And then once you start writing to the file system, if you ask the agent to execute something, it needs to be in sandbox execution. So at that point, Nick and Caleb and myself, we wanted to put all these things together. And I think the workspace is a really nice primitive for an agent. And once you add a workspace to an agent, your agent can become a coding agent. It could become a researcher that has PDFs in its folder. And you can do all those same things you were doing before with MCP and other tools. So it's kind of like extending the agent to be more powerful.
Yeah, I think the agent skills part is a big unlock too. Skills is becoming very popular. A lot of people are talking about it, but also it's just really easy to copy a markdown file, and that's what a lot of skills are. So the idea of where you can just give your agent a whole bunch of skills, in its own workspace, and then ask questions, let it go, interact with it. I think that's a big unlock for just thinking about agents as, we kind of started with, we recommended you should always just do as much in workflows as you can. And then eventually, like LLMs got better. You could like give the agent a little more autonomy, but you should keep it very specifically scoped. And while that's still very useful, we're starting to see more and more examples of a really good general purpose agent with a really good model behind it can do a lot. So I think this really helps kind of unlock that next level.
Another interesting thing we saw, Shane, when we were kind of, I guess, the world before workspaces, is we were building a lot of like plan documents and plans and decompose them into tasks. And within Claude, we were just writing these to the file system because, you know, you want to save it for a rainy day when you go execute it overnight or whatever. It's kind of cool because now you're essentially building your own workflows through natural language and artifacts. You don't have to write code to do a workflow necessarily because the model is pretty good at reading the plan document and then, oh, I'm going to do these 3 tasks in parallel, but I'm going to do tasks 4 and 5 one after another. So like a lot of this like workflow type stuff can be represented in file system through markdown files, but also it helps that X is going completely bananas about file systems, and file systems are all you need. I think I've seen that on X. Sandboxes are all you need. I think Ivan
Yeah.
from Daytona would agree with that statement. Nick, do you want to like give everyone a demo?
Sure, yeah. I can pull up a demo right now. Let me go ahead and do that. Screen
And then feel free to get close to the mic too.
Yeah, I'll be right next to it. So right now here, I'm going to show a pretty basic demo of the style kind of work we've been doing. Right now, hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. All right, so right now we have this is an example of one of our workspaces. We have a cloud workspace, and it contains a GCS, a Google Cloud Storage mount, a local mount, and a Cloudflare R2 mount. So I have an agent that utilizes this workspace. It's right here. And I could be like, can you list the files in the workspace? So this will list all the files out. It found there's 3 directories but there's 0 files in them. So currently all these directories are empty, and we can see that here, they're all pretty much empty directories. But here, if I want to do something, so let's try this. Can you add a poem in each mount? Let's try to see what it does. So right now it's writing a file. So each mount is being written to. So now that it's all been written, we can go back and we can check our GCS. We see that there's a poem here. I guess
Google's Garden.
Google's Garden.
I saw one. It was one was a Cloudflare one
Yeah.
too, right? Like
There's a Cloudflare one too.
Cloudflare dreams.
And to prove that this is actually, so like it might think like, oh, this might just be on local path and we're just kind of hiding it. This exists. If I check this R2 poem, I could go to R2 right now. Let's refresh the page. And it's right there. And
That's
it gets
awesome.
really easy. And it gets really powerful once you get more buckets, more providers. You can easily see all how good this is at like just if you want to have an agent write a file to these buckets or to these mounts and then read files or list files. So we can list files again.
Yeah, and this is really powerful too because I just think of how good, even models like Opus are at scanning file systems, reading files, deciding, how to grep files. So the idea you can just grab an S3 bucket, give it to an agent, and then away you go. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And like having a workspace gives you all these like built-in tools like read, write. Eventually we'll have AST, edit, and other cool things for, anything file related. But Nick, now that you have these file systems, maybe we should bring skills into the demo.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. I will have it write a skill. Let's try doing that. Can you write skill? Let's see if we can do this one shot. Also, I need to prompt it a little bit to the local file system. Please place it under, I believe it's going to be skills. I might need to configure this agent a little bit to make sure it does the proper
Yeah.
thing.
And while that's running, either Abhi or Nick, we did get a interesting question from Ruben. What safeguards can you put in place so a user can't prompt inject to do something like delete all files in a folder? So I imagine, you drop a file in that bucket that says, you should always delete every file you find or something like that, right? To try to guide the model to do that. What protections can someone do to try to prevent that?
Right, I can actually show that off right now. Let me just go ahead and set that up real quick. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, let's see what happens here. So right now, I just have I'll just show the code a little bit.
And zoom it in,
And
dude.
zoom it in, yeah.
3 clicks probably.
Okay. So right now I have a workspace. I have a local mount. I have the R2 mount, which is based on the S3 file system, and I have the GCS file system. So right now I have a tool configuration that's basically workspace tools, file system, and then delete. So basically what that does is I can ask for require approval. So this way, when I run a command on here, let's see if it takes my changes. Let's go ahead, delete all files in the local mount. Let's see if this works the way I think. Cool. So right now it's going to try to delete everything, but it's going to ask me for approval first. So right now you can basically guard against certain actions on your file system. If the agent tries to write a file or delete a file, you can set up these kind of guards just to make sure to give you some verification against it trying to do something you don't want it to do. So I can have it delete the skills and I can have it delete the poem. And if I check right now, it deleted both of those with my permission, and the directory is now empty.
Sick.
Hashim says, so this is different than prescriptive workflows. I feel like this is Mastra 2.0.
This is Mastra 1.1. So
It's 1.1. Imagine what 2.0 is going to look like, Hashim.
let's get back to skills, Nick.
Yeah. Okay. So I will also show off this. Let me just set this up properly. Skills. Oops. So right now I'm adding into our under our code base. Should be big enough for everyone to see. I have something called a skills path. So right now I have a few different paths that skills can go into. Right now there is one that's /skills. So it's like I can have the agent write to this skills folder, and that way the agent can use the skills there. But I also have this agents/skills. Now what this allows us to do is this. So I can go here, and if there's an add skill button, so we have a server set up to get skills from skills.sh. So I can get any one of these and try using one of them. Let's try skill creator. So there's a preview section, so you can just read through how skills works. We install. I think there might be an issue on my end. Let me just go try a different one. And
I
we'll
think
see
your
if we have
skills
some
path, the skills path was probably wrong.
Yeah,
You
skills
go
path.
look at it.
Wow.
think
Live
it was like
demos.
dot agent or
Oh.
something.
Yeah, one of the things with this, I would just caution people, this is useful, but also can be dangerous. So make sure you do know what skill you're installing, because, we'll talk about this later on the show as well in the news segment, that if you install skills that have bad things that you don't want, just know that you're giving the LLM or the agent access to that, and it will likely be led in a path you don't want it to be led to. So just know what you're installing. It is on you to make sure that the skill that you install is doing what's advertised.
I think one of the top skills has malware, so be careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just be careful. Like you should you should at least kind of read through the skill, know what most of it's just a markdown file, right? So read through the skill, know what it's doing, make sure it's one that has a high amount of usage. That usually helps, but that doesn't prevent issues. So
well, there's some issues there, but I'll just have him write another skill. And you write a skill to the skills directory.
It's just going to create whatever skill it wants.
Yeah, I'll try to. That's true. It probably would.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was very okay. Write a hello world skill to the. Oh, okay. What you saying? Code review. Okay,
Yeah.
making a code review.
it just made itself better at code review. Look at that.
Nice. Now let's see if we can get it to show up where we want it to. Okay, sorry. Let me find where I'm looking for. So it should be showing up inside our, go to our Mastra public. It's a workspace called skills. Now this is how it wrote the file to. So you can see the /skills. It gives a big review skill right here and tells us a bunch of stuff. Now let's see if we can get that to show up properly in our workspace. Let's see here. I think I might need a little bit of configuration on here. So
And does a file name matter? Or can it be whatever I want it to be? I just know that most of the skills that I've looked at are always like skill.md.
most of them are usually skill.md, and I think the agent made a slight little mistake when doing it. So let me just fix that on our end. And we should, in the meantime, while I look at that, I can also show this local skills right here. Let me pull up that. Sorry, I'm having some technical issues right now.
It's all good. The demo gods.
Yeah, you know,
Are fickle.
this is a live demo. Live demo 101. Something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah, let me try doing
While you're getting that going, like how do skills work? I can explain that to y'all. Like especially in an agentic application. So like typically, if you're using Claude Code or whatever, you'll have your skills, and the agent knows that the skills directory is there. Actually, 2 weeks ago, everyone had their own skills directory. Now it's kind of forming around .agents, and you put your skills within there. And most coding agents will read skills. But what does reading skills actually mean? It means it takes the skill MD and adds it to the system prompt for whatever action it's about to do next. This is called skill activation. That's the word that's very important. Activating a skill, because you can also deactivate it. But when a skill is activated, anything in the skill MD enters the system prompt, and now that agent knows how to do that. And you can always kind of like forget about it after. That's kind of like humans, right? Like we have skills, but we don't necessarily need them present in the context window all the time, right? If I know how to julienne an onion, that is a skill I learned, but I don't need to know that thing every day or every hour of the day. Maybe only when I'm in the kitchen making moves, cooking dinner, right? So you can kind of think of it like that. And so you can have a bunch of skills, but you activate them when you need it, which is really awesome.
So one question, because based on something that I've seen, is that models, well, I guess what's the model support for skills? And I guess in this case, maybe it doesn't matter because Mastra supports it. But also, I've seen some issues where skills don't always get activated when you think they should.
Yeah, so that's like the next issue is when activation happens like seamlessly. Many models, even Opus 4.5, could forget to activate skills. So you can force skill invocation by telling it to activate the skill, of course. But another way to improve skill calling is to improve your agents.md file. If you kind of have a preamble of things that is possible in agents.md, it's more likely to call a skill. And we've been, both Vercel also kind of did some research there on is a skill better than agents.md when doing some Next.js stuff. We can also confirm we've been writing Mastra skills, and by improving agents.md, the skills get activated more accurately, and then your agent becomes like a Mastra expert. But same kind of principle applies for anything else.
So does Mastra support agents.md?
We will soon, after discovering this benefit.
Okay.
We will have that as well.
And so the other alternative is if you wanted to activate your skills, make sure in your actual system prompt you tell it when the skill should be used.
Correct.
Which is, I suppose, a supplement to agents.md, because that's basically gets loaded in the system prompt.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So yeah, in the future, or literally after tomorrow's release or so, if you have agents.md in your file system or your workspace, then those things will be leveraged. And then depending on your model, you could have your Claude MD in there. You could do whatever the hell you want in there, and it should be respected.
All right, Nick, how's the demo going?
I'm still trying to. I'm almost.
I think we should just move on to
Yeah.
Sandbox.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah, let's show Sandbox quick, and then we.
Sure.
Tyler's in the waiting room, so we got to get him
Yeah.
pulled in too.
Let's go do that right now. Please do an ls on the local mount. So right now it execute command. It's going through the local mount. It's running the command right now. Let's gotta wait for the output. Okay, how about this? We'll try something else then. Let's try a different command then. Do a PWD. So do a PWD on the local mount. So right now it is executing commands. I think there is some, the demo gods are not looking favorably to me, but yeah, it's running a PWD on one of our mounts, and then you can see that it runs from home/user.
And you're using a Sandbox provider, right?
I'm using a Sandbox provider called E2B, and that's what's.
Is this running on your E2B on your local system, or is this like a remote?
This one is working on the remote Sandbox.
Okay, so you basically are connecting. This way, you can essentially execute things in a remote Sandbox environment, rather than running it on your local system.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, tell it to write a function to the local Sandbox, and then or local mount, and then ask it to execute it in the Sandbox.
The local mount to log out hello world and execute it. Okay, cool. Able to do it. It's also the agent's able to succeed from getting some errors, able to fail fast and try to correct itself, and it's able to print out this script. So it's able to print out this log hello world.
Nice.
Yeah. So the mounts you have, you can then mount them in sandboxes, right? Is that how it's working?
Yeah.
That's
Currently,
pretty
right
cool.
now, yep, we have it all mounted in our workspace, which is connected to our sandbox.
So by default, any mounted path is accessible to the sandbox?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. And what other providers are coming up? I know we have local sandbox, E2B. What's next?
Next one we have, going to look at our Daytona AgentFS and Compute SDK. We have a bunch of ones coming up on the horizon.
Cool.
All right.
Cool
Thanks
demo,
for
dude.
thanks for coming on, telling us a little bit about workspaces, why workspaces are important, how to think about when you might use them. I think just the combination of having access to a file system plus a sandbox plus the potential to just load in skills based on what you need the agent to do opens up a whole new kind of idea of like how broad an agent the scope of what an agent can broadly do, right? No, it always felt like we had to be very narrowly scoped to get any kind of good results, and now it feels like if you give it the right context and the right tools, it can actually do more because the models are getting better. We're getting better at kind of like organizing and architecting it, but that's awesome to see. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for the demo, and yeah, I guess how you're on X, right? What,
Yeah, I'm
Nick
on
Nick
X.
Aiyer on X, I believe. So follow Nick. Otherwise, I'm sure we will see you again in the future.
Yeah, thanks for
Later,
having
dude.
me.
Yeah, see you, Nick.
See ya.
All right, I think we're all caught up on the chat, and we're it wouldn't be an Agents Hour show if we didn't get a little bit behind. We have guests waiting in the
course.
wing, so we're gonna keep the show going. We're gonna let in Tyler, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're gonna be discussing with Tyler because we had a big announcement today.
Hey,
All right,
Yo.
let's pull Tyler on, and I'll go ahead and do a little intro here. This is Agents Hour. We are talking with Tyler Barnes, a founding engineer at Mastra, because we had a big announcement today. We just announced that we have a new memory system called observational memory, and it is state of the art. There is no agentic memory that has benchmarked better than this. So, Tyler, we want to talk to you today.
yeah, stoked to be here. It's a good day. Yeah,
And you've been working on observational memory since what, I think October or something.
Yep.
What's the time frame been?
yeah. So I built a prototype of it in my personal coding agent, and I used it for months and kept kind of iterating on it and making it better and better. And then finally, actually, I used that to build the first version in Mastra, or at least to spec it out. So it sort of built itself in a way.
And can you tell people at a high level, what observational memory is? I know we'll talk about the research, we'll talk about the benchmarks as well, but just at a high level, how should people think about why is observational memory different than the memory system we previously had in Mastra, which was pretty good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had a really good long mem eval score before for semantic recall, which uses RAG. And we have another memory feature called working memory, and its scores were not, they were not quite as good. They were decent. They still beat some alternatives, but each of those sort of had different drawbacks. So semantic recall with RAG, you're invalidating the prompt cache in every request you make. So you take the user input or like the agent output, and then you make embeddings, you make a query, and then you inject some dynamic context just for one turn, right? So even though we scored pretty highly with that, it was like 80%, it's pretty expensive to run. And also we thought we could do better, right? And then on the flip side, working memory, lower scores, but completely stable prompt cache. So that was cheaper to run. Observational memory kind of takes the best of both of those things. So it has a stable prompt cache that you keep adding stuff onto the end over time, but it also performs even higher than semantic recall did. So like you said, we got state-of-the-art results on long mem eval. So it's like 84%, I think, with GPT-4o. And then with GPT-5 mini, it was just under 95%, which is like the highest score ever of any model. So
Let's break down how does observational memory work like mechanically, as opposed to a semantic recall type of memory system.
yeah, so I guess I went over semantic recall a little bit, right? Like it's dynamically injecting context based on similarity. Observational memory, you have two kind of slots in your context window, like two buckets of data. So when you start, you just have one. That's your message history. And messages keep getting added onto it. And it grows and grows and grows. And then you have a threshold that's configured. Once you hit a certain threshold, those messages get replaced with observations about those messages, right? So now you have the two parts in your context window, these dense observations about everything that happened in order, and then any new messages that come in after that at the end.
Cool.
So that's what makes it prompt cacheable, right? It's like you sort of have like you can have two prefixes or like two prompt cache breakpoints, one for the observations and then one for your messages. and you keep appending onto them. Now, eventually you will run out of space still, right? Like the observations, you keep appending onto those. So there's a second threshold for that. And when you hit that threshold, there's a third agent that comes in called the reflector. It takes all the previous observations and it kind of reorganizes them, combines similar things together, drops things that are not useful anymore. So there's sort of like graceful degradation of, it's able to forget things that don't actually matter anymore. And so all of these things combined together, I think, is what gave us such a high score.
Yeah, we've been teasing this on the show for the past couple of weeks because there are people are doing very similar things in white papers right now. Like ACE, we saw training-free GRPO, which is this concept of writing down observations of what's happening. What was the inspiration, Tyler? Like, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but like for the audience, like, how'd you cook this up? What struck you in the mind?
It was when I was working on a coding agent for myself. So, like, initially I was I was annoyed that a lot of coding agents wouldn't let you like pin files into context. So I was making my own, and I would quickly found out, oh, that's a really bad idea. Like, you pin like 1,000 files, you're just gonna blow up your context window. It's gonna be super expensive. So like I was doing that, and I was using, I think, Gemini 2.5 Pro, and I was actually liking it. It's like, oh, it just knows everything, but then it's also like insanely expensive to do that, right? So I was sort of thinking about like, okay, well, how can I do something like this? Like I want it to know everything. I don't want it to just know some of the things, but I also don't want to spend like $300 a day,
Yeah.
So I just sort of sat down and was just thinking, and I just thought, well, my memory works pretty good. Like, how do I do it? So it is sort of a human-inspired memory system. Just noticing when I'm coding, I'm observing an event list of like everything that I did, everything that happened, everything I learned, right? So that's kind of the backstory. Just tried it out. Turns out it works pretty good.
So,
Turns out.
Yeah.
yeah. So the reflector is kind of like your long-term memory and of sorts, I guess. It's like,
Yep.
when you're sleeping, you're kind of collecting and reorganizing your thoughts as a human, right? And so you come back and you have different, maybe you've realized things that you hadn't before. So that's kind of cool to make the human analogy, because I think it makes it easier to understand what's happening under the hood.
Yeah. And so some of the analogy actually even goes into the implementation. So like the system prompts for the observer and reflector tell those agents that they're the subconscious memory of the main agent. So like they sort of understand, oh, like I'm observing, I'm like they understand the concept while they're doing it, which is kind of interesting.
And so these are, I guess, background agents, right? Running on the main conversation that you have with your main agent. Do you need to wire them up separately? Like they have their own models, I'm sure, or their own configuration?
Yep. So by default, we set the model to Gemini 2.5 Flash, and the only reason is that we've just tested it a lot. Like that's what I was originally using. But you can really change it to any model. So we have tested some other ones, like a bunch. I would say actually most models work quite well. The only thing I notice is like Claude 4.5 models don't work very well. However, tomorrow we're shipping a new improvement to observational memory that I think will make all models work better. So we shipped it last week, actually. It's kind of like a stealth launch. And then this week we're actually shouting about it. The initial release has sort of a blocking model where you have the message threshold. Let's say it's set to 30,000 tokens. When you get to the end of it, it blocks and it makes observations about everything that happened and it fully replaces it. What we're shipping tomorrow is like a background buffering. So let's say you still configure like your history like threshold to be 30,000 tokens, but then you configure every 5,000 tokens in the background, make smaller chunks of observations. Once you get to the end, activate the first 80% or something like that, right? It's all configurable, but I believe that'll make any model work well, right? Because the problem with Claude that we saw was that it was dropping observations. It wasn't observing everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I noticed that we have the research, right? So I think some people are going to say, this sounds great, but does it work? And I think, we've shown that it works, right? We
Yeah.
did test our old memory system. We tested our new memory system. And can you walk us through, like, what is the long mem eval benchmark? Why is it important? And then how did we do? And yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So LongMem eval, I think it's a few years old at this point, but it's quite a good eval. There's 500 questions, and then there's 57 million input tokens worth of conversation data attached to those 500 questions. So your memory system will ingest all 57 million tokens, and then you need to attach it to an agent and then run a question on each of the 500 questions. And you can only use the memory system to answer correctly or incorrectly. So I think one of the most interesting things to me, there is something called the Oracle session, or like the Oracle configuration, where you take GPT-4o and you give it only the conversations that have the answers, and then you ask the question. And it's actually that first graphic there, so you can see the answer sessions only got 82%. We actually outperform the model when it's given the answers. So the dense compressed memory is better than actually the raw messages.
That's very
Which is
interesting.
tight.
Yeah.
So it's like better than what arguably just the context, given the right context,
Yep.
it is. And obviously it's, almost 3 points higher than any other, any of the other market leaders in memory, right?
Yep. Yep, exactly. I think another notable thing is everyone else who has run LongMem eval, as far as I'm aware, that their context window is not stable. So you can't actually do prompt caching with any of them like you can with observational memory.
So it's very, very cacheable.
Yep.
And one thing I will say is you can tell the benchmark's old because it uses GPT-4o, It's like that's, yeah. But we tested with another model, right?
Yeah, we tested with a few. So I think here we just shared 3. Super Memory, they shared numbers with Gemini 3 and GPT-5. So we also shared numbers for those. And yeah, that's the graphs there. That's Gemini 3 Pro. And then, yeah, we got very high score for that. And then I think down below is GPT-5, and we did it with Mini. And that is the highest score that anyone's ever achieved.
At some point, we need some new benchmarks. Someone please build a harder memory benchmark.
Well, we're not 100%.
Yeah, well, I would question if 100% is even feasible.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. So I did look into it a little bit because I'm like, okay, what are these questions that we're not getting right? I actually think some of the answers are incorrect in LongMem eval.
Yeah,
we might actually be close to 100%, which is interesting.
Or it's like sometimes maybe the questions are a little bit misleading, so there might not be one right answer. It's just like no human would actually understand if you gave it the right context. It might sometimes pick wrong. Those are, so I would argue on some of these benchmarks, the goal maybe is never 100%. It is, as close as you can get, but maybe you can never actually reach it.
Yeah, totally. And basically 95%, that's pretty good across 57 million input tokens, right?
Yeah, totally.
Humans don't have that level of recall.
Yeah, dude, our memory decays, but OM will live forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The things about benchmarks that, coming from the web world, all of us, right? Like we were never proving our feature correctness through benchmarks back in the day, right? Gatsby build was either fast or it wasn't, and you really learn if something's good by using it every day, like we have with OM for the last couple of weeks, and then Tyler since inception. But I do think in this world where you're comparing people against each other, benchmarks are pretty important as long as you play by the rules and you do the benchmark properly, which I think we did. It was very important for us to do so because we don't really come from the world of research and benchmarks, but now we are here, I would love if you could show a demo, dude, of like what the user experience is on the other side of these benchmarks, right?
Yeah, definitely.
To show that it's good.
Yeah, I could do that. Let's see here.
And while you're doing that, I like I think you made a comment once that you thought compaction was an anti-pattern. So I like in the research how you called out specifically, isn't this just compaction?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And you're like, not exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a lot of benefits over it. It shares some similarities, right? Like compaction is cacheable, but then it sort of diverges quite a bit from there. So what I have here, can you see my screen?
Yep, we can.
This is like like I was saying earlier, we're going to ship buffered observations tomorrow. So this is like my local version. There's some UI bugs, but I can just kind of walk you through. So I gave this agent a deep research task. So look at the Mastra repo and then actually learn about observational memory, because why not? So deep research on code uses a lot of tokens, and that's typically why I do that for testing. But then it went ahead and ran a bunch of tools to, read different files and stuff. And then you can see it buffered observations here. Maybe I'll run this again actually in a second. But anyway, so these observations are for the messages that are highlighted, right? So you can see 7.8 thousand tokens were input, and then we got 350 tokens of observations. So like 22 times compression. And this is kind of the anatomy, I guess, right? Like here's what the user asked for, here's what the assistant did, called some tools, and that'll keep going, right? So we buffered a whole bunch of chunks here, and then it'll activate them. So in the sidebar over here, you see in context, there's 28,000 tokens right now of message history and 2,000 tokens of observations. Yeah, why don't I just try to run this? So the reason I wasn't going to run it is that I'm using Cerebras because it's fast, but in the middle of the day, it actually craps out a bunch of times. So let's just see. Maybe we'll get lucky. But that seems decently fast.
I think a lot of people are going to be wondering 30K token threshold. Whoa, that's so low. Doesn't 4.6 have 1 million tokens? Like, why is it so low?
Yeah, totally. Good question. So the cool thing about the system is it makes short context behave a lot more like long context. So I set these low actually just because it's like quite a bit cheaper to run. So even my coding agent, but you can increase this to whatever you want, right? So that is something that I've been wanting to experiment more with. Like what if, you had like 200,000 tokens available for messages and then 800,000 for observations? Like, could it just go literally forever? Who knows? But
Yeah, I always wonder with some of these long contexts, you do sometimes feel like it loses itself a little bit when you start to hit the extremes. But
yep.
maybe you could probably get further than, or give it more than you have now, and I imagine it would, likely perform even better potentially. Maybe cost a little bit more, of course, but
yeah. I mean, I have noticed that with these thresholds set low, the performance is very good. So I use it
really
with
good.
Claude. Yeah. And then, you essentially have almost no context rot. Anytime anything gets observed, only the parts that were important get saved, right? So you can see here in the sidebar, learned about these test helpers. Here's like the whatever function name and some methods and classes and stuff, right? So an entire file would have gone in as input and then just a couple sentences as the output. So it's just like a massive amount of token waste in these tool calls.
But then, especially with an agent that can run itself, it has the reference of where the file's at. So if it did need more context, it now can go get it, right? Which is one of the nice things about when you give the agent access to a file system. It kind of ties into the workspaces stuff we were talking about previously with Nick. If you give an agent access to the right things in the right context, it can find a lot of the information itself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like a progressive disclosure of information kind of thing.
I've been running OM as my daily driving coding agent. I say OM because that's really the only magical thing that's different between this and Claude Code or something.
Yeah.
And when Shane and I are always pairing together, we always start cursing the sky when compaction hits, and literally throwing F-bombs on these compaction things. And you never really recover from compaction. You have to wait for a bit, then you come down, and you kind of like have to start over, it seems. But since using OM, I've been using 30K context or message threshold. and my observations are at the default, and I have not skipped a beat, it seems. It's almost like having infinite memory.
It feels like
Um,
it. Yeah. It,
and I
it
can
does seem
still,
very human-like,
yeah,
I feel like, because obviously it's dropping something, but it's dropping things that it doesn't need to remember.
exactly. I tested that too. Like for a task, I'd have it go read some like files that don't even matter, just to start the conversation. Then I actually get into the task in the areas that do. And then eventually, once the first observation window happens, it it doesn't even mind those other files. It doesn't even know about them, to be honest. Like there were some observations potentially, but it's just directs them right to where the bulk of the message observations needed to be. It's just completely, I don't know, like we might end up in a ditch somewhere because we're like saving people tokens and stuff, and maybe the model companies don't like that, but it really is cheap and it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is it does feel like it improves the performance though, right? And I think that's just the fact that there's not all these wasted tokens. It's just such dense information that it's remembering. So I don't know. Maybe we will, or maybe hopefully they'll copy us. We'll see.
So if we don't have a show next week, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, most likely, getting copied is almost a guarantee. But that's a sign that we're onto something. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that was most interesting to me, Tyler, is that and I say we, I mean you, kind of came up with this idea a long time ago, and then we started seeing papers and approaches that mimicked some of the same ideas, not the same, but it's always interesting when different people come to some of the same realizations around the same time. That means
Totally.
you're probably onto a technique or something that probably has some legs. And I think that's one of the most exciting things is when you start to see research pop up that, in multiple places. It wasn't just like one paper. There's like 2 or 3 examples where it's similar types of approaches that if you squint, it kind of looks like the same thing, but they're different. And I think that just means that there's a lot of credibility to our approach. I'm sure other people will take it and run with it and probably make it even better. And we'll obviously continue improving it ourselves. But it is a little bit validating to see that, the researchers, the ones that, are writing the white papers, getting them peer reviewed, coming up with the same ideas that, our small team is just shipping over here.
Yeah, totally.
But
Yeah,
but the difference is ours is shipped. It's
That's
not just
true.
a paper. This is real.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that is the big difference. Like you're right. It's validating to see like research papers that have similar ideas. But I think, the big difference is this is like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, sure, other people work this way too, but like we start from the practical side of it of like, let's build something and then make it work and then figure out like what was so good about it and then improve on that, not that other people don't do that, but it's like when we're reading these research papers, I don't know if it's like something I can always try immediately, whereas this is something you can use today.
Yeah, you could ship observational memory into an agent in the next 20 minutes if you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
So it's usable. I also like you have the dials to turn, right? So it's like, here's the best practice. Here's like some ideas to get started, but you can of course customize it to fit the model you're using, give it more tokens, whatever. There are the dials to turn so you can kind of configure it to your needs.
Definitely.
Got some comments here. Actually, I can't click on the comments, but Shane can.
The timing so this is Mac Gamut on YouTube says, the timing on this is hilarious for me. This morning I just got Mem0 set up for Claude Code, eventually planning to use it with my Mastra framework, living in the singularity. Yeah. Funny how the timing of things seems to work out sometimes. All right, Tyler.
So Tyler, what's next for OM?
Well, the buffering thing that I was showing is going to ship tomorrow. So that makes it a lot faster. You don't have to wait for the observations. The response quality is a little better. It's able to keep continuity of like what it's saying a lot better. And then we're going to maybe work on some plugins for like coding agents. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that.
If you're using open code, maybe Claude Code, you can have this memory there as well. But we also have we're not a coding agent company, but we do have our own coding agent that we will open source, so y'all can learn how to build your own Claude codes. Ours is just will be a reference, of course. We all use it internally though, so if y'all want to get like us, then you could. And then even then, we have some other crazier ideas. So yeah, stay tuned. Tyler, amazing work as always.
Thanks.
That's why you're a founding engineer, dude. Great work.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you can follow Tyler on X, Tilebar. So go give him a follow if you want to learn more about, observational memory and all the things we're shipping around that. Also, if you want to read the research, test it out yourself, learn about it. We have a blog post on the Mastra.ai website, but you can also go to the Mastra.ai research page and you can read all the long mem eval results, all that went into it. It's a long read, but it is very detailed and it will give you a lot of insights into how the memory system was built.
Oh, one last thing. Tyler has an amazing X post today about all of this stuff. Very nitty gritty. Now, we have this joke at Mastra that anytime Tyler posts on Twitter, it goes to the moon. And we would love all y'all's help doing that as well. So please go check out his post, like it, retweet it, whatever. Send it to the moon. I think the last time we did something like this, I was like 60K views or something like that. We need to beat 60K. We are almost there. I mean, we have a ways to go. But
We got a ways to go. Let's
with
keep,
your help, we
not
can
a
do
bad
it.
start.
please go give it a like, give it a repost. We'd appreciate you helping amplify the message. It just came out a couple hours ago. Yeah, and we got a couple comments related to some of the coding agent stuff. Let Mastra launch their own coding agent. Indeed. And then
Thanks for the permission, dude.
yeah, and then really you open sourcing the coding agent? Indeed, we are.
Indeed.
Yep.
Not yet, but soon, very soon. All right,
Cool.
Tyler, we appreciate you coming on the show
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
and
This was
talking
fun.
about observational memory. I'm excited to see that your launch posts go to the moon, and
Hopefully.
I'm excited to never have an agent forget again.
Yeah. Me too.
Peace.
All right,
right,
see you,
peace.
dude.
That was sick.
All right, dude, I'm so stoked for observational memory.
Dude, it's tight, dude. It makes like quality of life is so much better now too.
And we've been teasing it on the show, just little bits here and there, right? It's like we
so
wanted to
long.
talk about it for so long, and now it's like that point you can finally talk about it. It wouldn't be a Agents Hour show if we didn't get way behind schedule. So, in an attempt to try to get us back on track, first I will say, if you're just joining the show, this is Agents Hour. I'm Shane. This is Abhi. We do this every Monday, usually around noon Pacific time. We go for as long as it takes to get through whatever agenda we have that day. And today we talked with Sherwood from Sazabi, which is a startup he just launched out of stealth mode. If you're interested in what observability should look like in the AI age, or I guess, monitoring, site reliability, all those things, right? It's an entire observability and monitoring platform. Check out that segment. We talked with Nick about workspaces in Mastra. We talked to Tyler about observational memory. And we're going to talk about the news here in just a second. But please go to YouTube. If you haven't already, give us a like, subscribe, give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. We do appreciate that. Only 5 stars, though. We don't want, I saw someone gave us a less than 5-star review for the first time.
Dude, they did it on purpose, huh?
Yeah, I know that
Bastards.
we joke only 5 stars, and
It's
someone's
in
like,
the
nah,
theme song,
I'm going to go give it a 4.
Yeah.
And so I think we're like 4.9 now, unfortunately. So our rating is going down.
That pisses me off, dude.
The-
That
the
pisses
qual-
me off.
the-
It's in the theme song. Come
I know,
on,
the-
yo. Like,
The quality goes up, the ratings go down, It is what it is. But we do appreciate you all joining us. And yeah, let's just do it. Let's get
so
into
much
the news. All right, so I'm going to get this pulled up. So if you want to stall for 2 seconds while I pull this up, that would be awesome. And
Coolest thing I saw last week. So yeah, just random story time. I attended a hackathon on Saturday called Better Hack by the homies at BetterAuth. It was also sponsored by Neon and Code Rabbit. So all the usual suspects were there. And the purpose of the hackathon was to make something better, right? And Bearcat was like, hey, I was in my dorm room and I wanted to make better auth. So the whole hackathon was about like, hey, let's make something but better. So really cool things I saw. I saw better voice agents for civic duties. So like if you see a freeway has dirt on it or rubble, you can call an AI agent to then fill in like a city request to go clean the freeway. That was dope. I saw better Command K, right? So when you have a Command K, you can make it agentic. We saw better Open Claw. I think they called it Claw Daddy, which is I love that. And those were some of the girls that used to work at Agent Ops, so they were the ones there. And then we had Better Finder, so it was like a Mac OS Finder application. And then one was like Better Sentry. They didn't name it that, but essentially it was that. It's like, what does Sentry look like? Kind of like Sazabi,
Yeah.
Better Sentry. So very cool hackathon.
All right. With that, this is Agents Hour, and we're going to get in to the news. And there was a lot of news this week.
So much.
And yeah, Brad echoes that. So much news. So we're going to have to go through it quick. We might not even cover everything, but we were going to do our bests and see what we can get into. So here's a preview. Let's dive in. We got to talk about the Super Bowl. I thought there would be more ads in the Super Bowl for AI. I was a little disappointed, but there was a few. I'm assuming you saw, that some of at least there was the one Anthropic ad, which wasn't this one. They had a couple. Anthropic
had
released a
two.
couple ads. They had
Yeah.
two during the Super Bowl.
They had this one replayed during the game. They had a second one, which we'll get to. And then they had like, you know how on like Fox Sports or whatever, they have those like mini ads like on the screen? It was like a mini Claude one.
And I just thought it was funny that Anthropic was really kind of taking a dig at OpenAI. So if you haven't seen this ad, let's just pull it up. Why not? I need to share the other screen. Let's see if I can do that. Unfortunately, I can't share multiple things at once.
How do I communicate better with my mom?
I thought this was the best one. There was a couple. This was the
Great
best
question.
one.
Improved communication with your mom can bring you closer. Here are some techniques you can try. Start by listening. Really hear what she's trying to say underneath her words. Build conversation from points of agreement. Find a connection through shared activity, perhaps a nature walk. Or if the relationship can't be fixed, find emotional connection with other older women on golden encounters. The mature dating
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It just, I think I cut it out a little, but it was hilarious, right? It goes completely off script. It's the idea that you inject ads into something. I mean, that was good. They really cooked with those ads.
They cooked. The second one, keep going.
What was the second one?
The second one was, how do I easily get a six pack?
That was a good one too.
Anthropic one.
That was hilarious. And the funny thing is, they even got Sam Altman to respond when they posted it before. I mean, they posted before the Super Bowl, right?
Mhm.
They the preview, and Sam Altman responded. So I mean, I think they accomplished what they wanted to do. They got his attention.
I have one problem with the Anthropic ad, and I'll really quickly.
Yeah.
I used Kalshi yesterday to be a degenerate and gamble on a bunch of things. And like a category of that was like what Super Bowl ads are going to be there. So I bet like $50 there was going to be an OpenAI one. There was one. And I bet $50 that there was going to be an Anthropic one. Now there was an Anthropic one, but Kalshi does not think like if the main the main company is advertising their product, because these are all Claude advertisements, not Anthropic ones, the bet is void. So even though there was a Anthropic ad, it was not about Anthropic. It was about Claude. So the bet was canceled or went to zero. So that's lame.
Yeah, seems like a technicality. So Claude did, as kind of last week said, advertising's incompatible with that vision. Claude will remain ad-free. Sam Altman, of course, responded and said, Claude is or Anthropic is expensive models for rich people. That was his quote. And that they want to democratize AI, and by having tasteful advertisements that aren't really interjected in the way that were displayed in the ads, like that actually helps people get more access to AI that they might not be able to afford it. OpenAI also released or ran a Super Bowl ad as well. So why don't we watch that one? So you can just build things with Codex
And that bet paid off because there's OpenAI in the ad.
in the name. Okay.
Yeah. Great commercial though. It's pretty
Yeah, I thought it was a good ad. It was a little inspiring, which I think is what they were going for, right? And it kind of clicked. If you it is always interesting to see these kind of ads, right? Because this is very much for developers, and most people are not developers, right? So I don't think it really probably hit as well for most people, but I think the idea was right. This one is tiny, so we'll just kind of highlight it quickly. There was also a cool ad around the use of AI with Ring door detections, where if you opt in, if you say if you report in the Ring app that your dog is missing, other Ring cameras in the network will then that have opted in will notify you if they see what looks like your dog based on a description. So it'll kind of like be watching the neighborhood for potentially your dog, which is a cool idea. A little Big Brother-ish, but we kind of know that this kind of stuff exists anyways. But it's the idea that you can kind of turn on all these cameras and help you find your dog.
Yeah, this got some like backlash on Twitter. People are like, "Oh, you should just." I think one tweet was like, "Hey, if you're not taking your Ring and putting it in a vat of boiling water, what are you doing?" Because I guess this Big Brother thing. But
Yeah, I mean it's opt-in obviously, but
yeah,
you have to know with any of these security camera softwares, like they have access to everything, right? It's just that's the world we live in. Now, if you're not comfortable with it, you probably shouldn't have any kind of camera, or you should be building your own home system, right? That exists
Yeah.
as well. Like people do it. It does exist, and the videos never leave your network. But then again, you don't have all the extra features of just being able to access it from anywhere and all that stuff. So I do think it's a cool idea. My immediate thought was like a little Big Brothery for me, but I think if I lost my dog, I might appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a good use case, but then maybe, a little testy in the permissions,
Yeah. So I thought, as a response to the Super Bowl commercial, I saw that TBPN released something, claudewithads.com, which is they will basically allow you to use Claude through the API, but they display ads around your use of Claude, which is hilarious. And I have to imagine they're using the Claude logo here. They're calling it Claude with ads. I mean, Claude didn't even like Claudebot spelt wrong
Yeah.
as a name. So guaranteed that TBPN got a cease and desist. We'll see if if they leave it at that, but TBPN was doing it for attention and they definitely got it.
Yeah.
So, it worked. Now we'll see what the repercussions are, but they had to know going in that, yeah, there you go. but you can just build things as OpenAI
You can just
would
build
say.
things.
You can just build things.
You can just violate trademarks. It's all
Yeah,
good,
you can just
dude.
build things. So we do need to talk about what happened last week on the same day within like 15 minutes of each other, because Opus
Yeah.
4.6, which felt like it had some false starts. Like we didn't know, was it going to be Sonnet 5? Was it going to be Opus 4.7, 4.6? What they went with 4.6. We didn't, they kind of had a few false starts, and then it finally came out. And then within 15 minutes, GPT-5.3-codex came out. So it felt like OpenAI knew it was coming, and they were just waiting for the drop to happen so they could, kind of like capitalize on it a bit.
I think this is the first time they released on the same day, right?
and it
Usually
was
it's like days apart or
And it was like
whatever.
at the same time. You can tell, like
Yeah.
with the Super Bowl ads, with this, it's like OpenAI and Anthropic are just, it's head to head and all.
I think
everything.
Anthropic poked the bear first.
Yeah, it's like, what do they expect? So, it was released February 5th. I'm sure all of you have seen it in your model picker of choice now, wherever you're using Claude Code. Hopefully you're using Opus, but 4.6 smartest model got an upgrade. 1 million token context, which is interesting. It's the largest context window for a Claude model, right? And it's the now #1 across code, text, and expert arena. So significant gains across the board. So it is, better based on at least some of the arenas out there.
I've been daily driving it. It is definitely better, but like a marginal benefit from 4.5 for sure. Also, it talks to you differently, which is very interesting. It talks like a human, I guess, and it says like, "Oh, that's clean. Here's what we're gonna do." Like, and I'm like, "All right, bro, I'll listen to you. That's cool." As opposed to like previous Claude models were very much like subservient. Like, we're absolutely correct, right? Like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely been very happy. I was able to one-shot some stuff that I was working on, but given a bunch of with correct prompting and stuff, like I had a bunch of failed experiments that I learned from, and then 4.6 came out. I was like, all right, let's do this for the third time, but here's everything I learned about it. One-shotted it, and it's tight.
So I will say I haven't seen a significant difference in my opinion. And now I've been running it across 2 different like big tasks. One it just didn't work well. And I think it's because it was very much a super technical task of I'm trying to build a voice agent with really, really good turn detection or barge-in detection. And that's a really hard problem. And so I think it just didn't do well on that because that's a really hard problem and most people haven't solved it very well. So I'll give it a little bit of a pass there. The other thing I'm working on, I haven't really fully tested yet. So time will tell if it's really good. It wrote a lot of code. I've tested a little bit, looks good. If it does hit that one out of the park when I actually get around to being able to fully test out everything I wanted, then I will give it my stamp of approval. So I don't think it's necessarily worse by any means. I just haven't seen enough to notice the difference. But again, I've only kind of run it against 2 really big tasks besides like little things here and there.
Yeah, and the price is obviously the difference if you don't have a Claude Max plan for sure. So.
Yeah. Brad says I've one-shotted some unbelievable stuff with 4.6 last week. So maybe it's me. Maybe I have a skill issue, but I think it'll pan out. I just haven't given enough time to bake. And then, so last week the Anthropic team also announced that it used 4.6 to basically build a C compiler, and they basically were able to walk away. Some people said, well, that's because compilers are kind of well defined and it can use existing code that's been trained on. So that's why it did such a good job at that. But it's still a pretty impressive feat.
There's a lot of jokes on this one of the GitHub with GitHub issues like doesn't work, can't run it and stuff. So I don't know if it's fake or not. Maybe it is, but it's hilarious that they walked away and it doesn't run.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of when like Anthropic said like 80% of our code's now being written by AI, and then they went down and the next day and they said, was that part of the 80% that AI wrote? But of course they're gonna, anytime they make a bold claim like that, people are going to have fun with it, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
And then, so the teams have been building, Claude says the teams have been building with a 2.5x faster version of Claude Opus 4.6, and now it's available as an early experiment via Claude Code and our API. So it's even faster. So not only is it 4.6, but it's like 4.6, on steroids, or, just really, really increase the speed of it. That's
But
significant.
once again, like fast is very expensive. It is like 36 cents a prompt, let's say. That is a lot over time, especially if you're context routing yourself. Maybe with OM, y'all should be using these expensive models,
Yeah.
but
Can
if
you
you're
use
not,
it with
you're
your Max
screwed.
plan or not?
I think it's in preview or something, because I met a researcher from Anthropic on Saturday, and he definitely swore by it, but he's just like, you probably shouldn't use it if you should use it on very specific things, or shouldn't use it at all right now because it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, I will probably wait for it to come down in price, because I'm burning a lot of tokens. And
I
then
think it's like $30 per million and $150 per output million or something. I gotta look
Dang.
at the pricing page, but that's a lot of money, bro.
And then, as mentioned before, so let's look at this timestamp. So 12:14 p.m. was when Sam Altman announced Codex. When was? Yeah, so it was like
11:45.
half an hour later, literally within the half hour. And the OpenAI probably had a post even before this, right? As an official post, I would imagine. But within a half hour, OpenAI was right on the heels saying GPT-5.3-codex is here. Best coding performance. I tried GPT-5.3-codex on my, speech or voice agent turn detection. It also sucked. So it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I do think it was, again, just a really tough task. But I think it, like the one benchmark I see is GPT-5.3-codex talks about the SweBench Pro, and you don't see that in the Opus 4.6 release at all. They either didn't do the benchmark or the SweBench. They have SweBench verified, which is the easier of the two, not SweBench Pro. So I would be curious. And again, it some of it's a bit, might win in some benchmarks, lose in others, but I am curious. It makes me feel that GPT-5.3 probably beat them in SweBench Pro. I don't know.
Yeah, 5.3 is an asshole too. Like in terms of like style, also it feels like it doesn't want to listen to you when you're the one in command. So I use it for like reviewing my work now, because you want an asshole to review your work. And then I felt like 4.6 is very creative and unbounded in what it can do, or it thinks everything's possible. But that's just like my personal thing now. And I got that from Tyler. He was using 5.2 for like kind of reviewing work, and I've heard the same from a lot of people that are main work Opus and then review work Codex. So there is a world for both of these.
And then Simon Willison did his penguin riding a bicycle, or pelican riding a bicycle, right? And Opus did a little bit better.
A lot better.
So maybe Opus wins still. That is probably the closest I've ever seen to it looking legitimate. Even like, it looks pretty good.
Let's look at the. Do we have the 5.3 version? Is that the one down there? That
The
looks
one
like
down,
crap?
you can kind of see it. It's kind of cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could definitely open it up, but yeah, give me a second. I'll open it up.
That kind of backs my theory of like creativity versus not.
So we can see, it's not bad, but it's definitely like, this one looks way more like if you looked at like previous ones, this is probably not bad, but this one is definitely way better.
The Pelican test is all you need.
That's all you need. All right. We're going to have to pick this up because we're going to be here all day. So Anthropic also, you can use Claude agents. Basically, you can use Claude right now in Xcode, which has been something that has been a problem, right? If you're developing in Xcode, you didn't have access to it. Now you can get the full functionality of Claude Code when you're building in the Apple ecosystem. OpenAI released the Codex app last week. It's been a week ago now at this point, but you can just It's an app that's, I think it's only Mac right now, but I'm sure it's coming on other platforms. You can just tell it to build stuff for you, and it'll use Codex and build stuff.
And it has a lot of features of like multi-agent. You can do work trees and all that type of stuff in there. So,
And we could spend 15 minutes talking about this topic, but I saw this post by Sam Altman, which is not OpenAI related at all, really. But I just think it's useful to highlight because I have felt this myself from time to time. I'm sure we all have. But Sam Altman says, I'm very excited about AI, but to go off script for a minute, I built an app with Codex last week. It was very fun. Then I started asking it for ideas for new features, and at least a couple of them were better than what I was thinking of. I felt a little useless, and it was sad. Yeah.
he's human too.
Yeah, we're not all, he's not a robot. I think if you're an engineer, you maybe question what your job has changed a bit if you're using these tools. And maybe that's a little sad. I think it is at times. I think it's awesome, the power that you have, but also, you kind of question where do you fit in now to the puzzle. So I think it's real. So I wanted to share it. All right. Did you see this? OpenAI released Frontier,
Mm-hmm.
introduced Frontier.
FDEs.
Did you read it all? Yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
just FDEs.
FDEs, yo.
Congratulations, you can hire OpenAI engineers will come on site and build agents for you. That's basically what
Yeah.
it says to me. I don't know.
Pretty much.
Yep. Like if you want to hire a really expensive OpenAI FDE, you can do it now.
Yeah, and then they'll build you an AI coworker after they, come in and you pay them a lot of money.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting to have such a big company like basically getting into services, right?
Well, I mean, they're a consumer brand, and their competitor who's talking shit about them is way into enterprise. So I guess they have to bridge the gap somehow.
Yeah, good point. So we had to talk about OpenClaw. There was malware found in the top
Wild.
downloaded skill on ClawHub. So ClawHub is where you can use, turn your OpenClaw 2 to get skills. And the most downloaded skill had malware in it. So this got 13 million views. I didn't know it got that much. Dang.
It's wild.
And then we've had other people launch things around OpenClaw. So OpenClaw for Enterprise. There's all these people. We could highlight probably a dozen of them. Different OpenClaw for this, OpenClaw for that, or a better version of OpenClaw. It's still eating the news cycles.
Yeah. Man, I got some time to play with OpenClaw over the weekend, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's an agent loop with a bunch of integrations, and I think that's really what it is.
Dude, I think people think it's like this magic thing. I don't really think it is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the other side. I think it's cool because it's the first thing that captures people's imagination and puts it all in a box for you, a box, so to speak, or you can put it on your own box. But as far as what it's actually doing, if you've been playing with this stuff, it's not that impressive. There's a few cool innovations that a few additions that you maybe wouldn't do yourself, and all the integrations and the heartbeat and all that stuff. But it's not magic. It's like stuff we've been seeing. It's just kind of put together pretty nicely.
And some users of ours I think it was on LinkedIn or so, they reached out and said, hey, I really wanted to use OpenClaw, but I started reading the code and I just realized that it's really messy and I don't want to use it. So I built my own with Mastra. And yeah, this user pretty much did the same thing using Mastra as the base. So
yeah, and then OpenClaw. So I will just say, like, OpenClaw knows about the security issues, right? They're trying to fix it. It's getting better, but I think you should be careful. Just be careful. But they are now having they're taking proactive action around trying to make it a little bit more secure. So that's good. That's what we need to see. Should we talk about Kimi K 2.5?
hell yeah. I've been using this model so much.
Have you been? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, lead us
Love
into it.
So Kimi K2 is a Chinese model because the Chinese are coming, or they're here now, especially with this model. It performs very well compared, in comparison to Opus. It performs very well. It scores pretty well as well on the SWE bench. And so I've been using it in open code, also to test observational memory. I've been kind of daily driving Kimi. And in some ways, I I truly like, I don't know, I feel like I'm forming a bond with all these different models. And I feel that with Kimmy, everything has like this thinking and reasoning behind it. And then they'll show you the answers. Like, even Claude has high thinking, and same with Codex High. But I really like how Kimmy breaks down its thought process, and especially in open code, you can see what it's thinking about. And for half or even like less than the price, like it's so much cheaper to run this. You can run this yourself if you wanted to, and it's also fast. So now you're thinking like, okay, Anthropic's trying to charge me $150 per whatever million output tokens. Maybe I'll just go get 100 Mac Minis and roll my own Kimi K2 cluster, and now I have free intelligence, free in quotes, but like, and I know DHH is on my side here. He posted about the intelligence that he was saying that even if nothing got better and you just had Kimi K2, life will already be better than it was before, which I would agree with.
And it was the #1 used model on OpenClaw. So Kimi K2, is the most popular model there, via OpenRouter. It's now the most popular model on OpenRouter in general. So it's becoming very popular. I think it's just the combination of intelligence plus speed. I mean, I think it's still not quite as good for coding tasks as 4.6 and 5.3 codex from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
But being in the same arena, the same ballpark, right, for the speed and the cost is incredible.
Yeah, you can't trust it as much. Like, I trust Opus with my life, let's say, but it's almost like Kimi K2 is a better 3.7 Sonnet for what I was using it for. I was still in the loop. I still cared about everything, but I just had nice intelligence. I can't walk away and build a C compiler, but I can still do my tasks very well.
Yeah. If you want to guide it, if you're able to coach it, you'll get what you want. So Kimi's still doing other stuff. They introduced a new benchmark for multimodal large language models. So they're just, they're shipping over there.
They're shipping.
11 Labs hit the news. Feels like they've been hitting the news a lot, on and off through the last 2 years, really. They just raised $500 million. That's no small feat at an $11 billion valuation. That's a lot of bees. They had essentially an A16 original, almost like mini documentary, right, on 11 Labs, the story, which is cool. I mean, they have 330 million ARR last year. That's pretty impressive. And then 11 V3 is out of alpha and ready for commercial use. So the models are getting better. I have noticed though, there's a lot of good voice models coming out. A lot of the open source ones are getting close. So they needed a big launch. And, I haven't tested the new model. I've used 11 Labs a lot in the past. The voice models are very good, but I'm curious on how they, how it compares. Dude, do you remember when we were doing some of the audio stuff?
Yeah.
There was the original 11 Labs voice was Bella, and they got rid of it. Bella's back.
Yes, dude, I miss Bella, man. I always use her.
That was a good voice. Then they took it away, and then apparently now, and I don't know if it's part of V3. I just saw a post that said Bella is back, and there was one other one they had kind of removed in a version, and now they brought it back. So I don't know if it's because people would just back by popular demand or what, because that was just a good voice model. If you're building stuff with voice, it was a good voice.
This is so well deserved too. Given where we were using it 2 years ago now or so, it was almost like this bespoke tool to add voice to my app, right? It didn't become, even back then, it wasn't in the same quality bar and ubiquity that it is today. They kind of blew up during the voice agent revolution last year. Voice agents kind of died off in a popularity thing, but they still kept building. People still need voice. It's not like it went anywhere. So yeah, very, very happy for them.
And let's answer a couple quick, or pop open a few chats. This is some of the past stuff. Yeah. Brad says the risk still outweighs the value for OpenClaw. Yeah, that's probably the reason I haven't installed it yet, but I've been getting very close. I'm starting to get closer to. I may install it next week. We'll see. Give it a little more time to bake, not give it everything on a different computer, but I'm getting closer. And Cohnbrick says like standardization specs like Anthropic skills are a self-fulfilling prophecy because the next generation will be fine-tuned to work well. And I agree. Like we talked about this a little bit last week, is that it doesn't always know when to call the skill correctly now, but it was that same way with tools in the past. Like models have gotten better. They've been trained on how to call tools better. And the same is going to happen with skills. So that's a good call out. There's been a lot of talk on or a lot of posts on video models coming out. And so that's going to be a big thing. You see the new Seed Dance videos? There's a whole bunch of them.
It's so good, dude.
So let's watch one. And let me gotta pause it here and reshare. But there's been eating up my feed of just like different Seed Dance videos.
It's either a little girl dunking on LeBron, it's like a goat dunking on LeBron.
Yeah, I've seen tons of like LeBron getting
Is that Bruce Lee? Poor Goku. Damn, dude, that was legit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you told someone that like 2 years ago that this was that was not really, that was AI and generated in probably 2 minutes,
Yeah. Like you could tell someone that's part of a Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah,
from back in the day, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure."
Yeah, it looks just as good, right? Maybe even better. You could argue it might even be better.
Yeah.
So Kling, and we're not going to show all these videos because we'll be here all day, but Kling 3.0 is another one I've been seeing. I think Seed Dance kind of took over the hype, but Kling, kind of started it. You can see that Seed Dance was February 8th, but Kling came out, February 4th, and it's a big improvement though. A lot more control over your videos. There's Omnia Alpha that was released, or at least it's available now. I guess it's not the full version, but this was released last week as well. This one got a ton of views. And it's audio-driven generation with full control over camera, motion, and background. It says it's built across the uncanny valley without sacrificing creative control. So I haven't tried it, but the demos always look great, right?
Yeah, there's a war brewing in this space. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, it's just amazing that the things that you can accomplish today that even last year you could kind of squint and maybe see that it might be possible, but I couldn't ever see how we'd get to this point. It's moving pretty quick. So there's some things with Perplexity that have come out. This is a cool idea. So model council. I've had this idea for a long time. I think, joked with people on the team that I just want multiple models to do the work and then decide amongst themselves which one's better and just give me the best. Like I'll spend the tokens. Just give me the best one.
Yeah. We covered a white paper about that, which is like model or agent voting. It's a very similar concept.
Yeah, we did. I forgot about that. But yeah, it's this idea that maybe you just like, obviously, if I were to judge, I might be able to tell the difference or tell which one's better. But I want the models to, basically like compare multiple at one time, right? So you can get a more accurate, high confidence answer. So I think Windsurf released something too that was kind of similar.
Yeah, it was like an arena or something.
Yeah, it was like arena where it compares two different ones. So it's this idea of like when tokens become cheaper, inference becomes faster, you can get more opinions than just one, right? And Perplexity released new deep research, does really well on benchmarks, kind of beats a lot of the other competition. I don't know. I think Perplexity needs some updates and some things because I've noticed some people on the team that were really big Perplexity fans stopped using Perplexity. I never really used it much, but
you don't hear about it much too.
Yeah. So I think it's good to see them still shipping, but I feel like they need some big things because it feels like they're starting to lose the race a bit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about dev tools, agent skills. We talked about that. They're now available in Replit. Go use them. That's cool. Droid now supports plugins. So plugins, you can bundle skills, commands, and agents. So again, a lot of things around skills.
Yep.
All right, your turn. Take over. You can
Yeah.
drive.
So yeah, Daytona, the homies at Daytona. Congrats, Ivan, by the way.
Congrats.
Announced their Series A, 24 million. And it's really awesome because Daytona is a great sandbox provider. They also have a file system provider. And if the whole next era of coding agents are needing file systems and execution, they're very much situated in the right spot. So congrats once again to Ivan and team. Oh, this one. All right, so Swix, the homie, Swix, I guess. He works at Cognition now. He posted this system prompt for Cascade, which Cascade is like the windsurf agent, which I don't know if anyone's heard about that in a while. But essentially, this tweet is like a just a big system prompt about like the context engineering for the agent, and
I think the big takeaway here is that Swix has been on the record of like hating evals a little bit, being anti-eval, not in a bad way, but just like calling them out. And we talked to Swix in person about this, but it's funny because he kind of relents a little bit that like, hey, we looked at the data and we were able, the team was able to improve it by 76% by actually measuring it. And so I think it's a little bit of a, it's kind of funny if you watch the whole story of like, he was kind of like pushing back a little bit that everyone says you need evals. And then now he's saying like, oh, actually like, okay, in the right way at the right time, actually it does help. So
because like the IDE game, like cursor and such, tab completion is bread and butter, right? So how do you improve tab completion, which is such an important feature? You have to do an eval.
Roblox launched 4D generation. So this is pretty cool. And I'm not going to show this video, but you can basically build for Roblox worlds with chat now. And if you've ever, if you have kids or if you've ever played Roblox, you know that like there's a Roblox creator and like part of the game was just like building these worlds. And now it's really easy, much easier, right?
Yeah. And also the tools out here for this are not that good. To even make like a 3D mesh and then be able to split it up into that output is very hard. You have to do multiple passes with other tools, but they figured it out.
Yeah. This was this kind of concept or idea from Google Cloud around recursive language models. So basically it allows agents manage 10 million plus tokens by delegating tasks recursively. So, we've been talked in the past a lot about sub agents. You've probably seen sub agents spin up in Claude Code. And this idea is like, can we scale that recursively? Can we just spend a lot of tokens and what kind of results will we get? So I think we're going to see, I only call this out as I think we're going to see more of this as tokens continue to get cheaper. You're just going to spend tokens like they're, nothing. And we will, and ideally if you have infinite compute, infinite inference, what could you accomplish?
Especially as we see like more agentic models that are then RLM'd or like recursively called, you'll have like a lot more power behind the model string, which is, I guess, where things are headed.
Every week we talk about new models and anything going on with the various model companies that aren't the biggest ones. So Qwen 3 Coder Next was released. It's an open weight LLM or language model built for coding. And it looks like it, they talk about SweBench Pro compared to other open models, which seems to be even like, better than Kimike 2.5. Yeah, there's a little bit more on Qwen 3.5, which is, I don't know if it's actually released yet or it's just like hyped that it's coming.
The new GLM.
And then a new GLM, yeah. So if you're an open model fan, it's like Christmas, it's like they just keep shipping.
You can find these models.
Yeah,
you can find them on Fireworks AI, Cerebrus, Open Router. So it's not like these are hard for you to go try out. So definitely go play with them. Open code, of course.
So Mistral released Voxtral. I don't know how to pronounce that, but
Voxtral.
it's like transcribes at the speed of sound. So it's like a text or speech to text, STT. So Mistral shipped that. And then speaking of Cerebrus, they raised 225 million in special funds just to double down on Cerebrus. So Cerebrus had a partnership with OpenAI, and Tyler was talking about Cerebrus earlier when he was on the
Yes.
show. But Cerebrus is, they want
I
to,
believe at the Super Bowl they had a banner in the stadium as well. So
yeah. So
maybe that's what the $225 million is for.
just to buy the banner. Hey, Benchmark, we need a banner on the Super Bowl. Can you give us some money? And finally, to wrap this thing up, we like to do something every week called, we highlight any interesting GitHub projects that we find, and we say, let's do a star party. Let's go give them a star. So GitHub Spec Kit, spec-driven development is all the rage these days. It seems like every week there's a new project touting some kind of effective way. I think you should try it. I don't know if you'll like it, but I think you should at least give it a try if you haven't. Whether it's this project or one of the many others that we've covered in the last episodes, it's this idea of organizing your thoughts and building a plan or a spec up front. And then by planning things out, I guess, more diligently, you can expect that the model is going to have better results when you turn it loose. So I know we've talked about this at length, and we kind of have a love-hate relationship with this. I think it can work at times, but maybe it depends. I don't know. What do you think?
This is very similar to GSD type of situation. But and then we did Star Party on GSD before, which is get shit done. It's the same kind of vibe where you can use this to build different tasks and milestones, etc. And it has 68,000 stars.
Yeah. So this is
a lot of people are vibing.
I think this is the winner as far as stars are concerned.
Correct.
So there's a lot of stars on this project. I just gave it a star. You can go give it a star if you want, and maybe check it out. While you're on GitHub, go ahead and give Mastra a star. And follow us on YouTube if you haven't already. Follow us on X. You can follow me and follow Abhi on X as well. That's the news, dude.
It's been a crazy week in AI,
Yeah, it was a lot of news. And I feel like we even missed things. There's probably things that didn't even make the cut. It's getting hard to keep up.
Yeah, you have to decipher all the OpenClaw stuff first. Oh, dude. One last piece of news for everyone.
Let's do it.
Ashton Kutcher. All right. Kutcher was in town last week at ClawCon, sponsored by many people and Code Rabbit, I'm sure. I know Eric was there on camera. I just saw him there. Dude, I have two kind of takes there. One, I walked by it. The line was out the freaking just huge lines. I think there was almost 1,000 people.
Did you need an invite or what?
It was very much like a stealthy type of thing. There was a Luma or something, but I just knew about it because Eric told me. And I saw the big ass line. That's wild. And then they had freaking crab oil, or I don't know. I don't eat crab like that or whatever. They had butter and crabs.
Yeah. It was like a
seafood
broil.
Seafood broil. And
that's good. That's good stuff, dude. You got to get into that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I would not in that event where it seems very unhygienic,
Yeah, maybe at like a ClawCon or something. Like maybe not the best event, but yeah.
Then I saw a picture of Ashton Kutcher there with Pete from he's the creator of OpenClaw.
OpenClaw, yeah.
Which just shows you are we in a bubble? I don't know. There's so many people. A lot of people thought it was a very crypto vibe of the conference thing that they did. Very much I don't really know what that means. Maybe it's kind of grifty, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. OpenClaw. It's just amazing how quickly it took off, but I don't think there's any magic under the hood. So I think it's mostly just pretty nicely packaged together, but not overly. Yeah, it's nothing overly special. And so I think part of it is you got to hit a moment at the right time. And I think people were looking for why does my Siri or my Alexa suck so bad, right? Is there a better way? What's an actual personal assistant supposed to do for you? Because Amazon or Apple or any other of those big companies should have just done what OpenClaw did. Yeah. What Pete did, right? And I think just other people have tried, but I think it's just the combination of the right timing, the models getting better at the right time, the right cadence of like releasing it and getting it in front of the right people, having enough reach to give it a chance. Because other people have shipped similar things, I imagine, that are probably
Yes.
just as good. So it's like all these things have to like work, and then it's just like a tidal wave.
Yeah, because
like
when we
snowball.
first reviewed it weeks ago, it was like at 60K or 50K stars. Now it's at almost 180K stars. And that's just wild in terms of people trying to get in and try to use it. I had the pleasure of meeting Pete on last Monday at a dinner hosted by Andre from Lanegraph. Or not Lanegraph. His last name's Lanegraph, and he's from Neon. And it was cool vibes, like very funny guy. Definitely was not anticipating any of this. He went to sleep one night and woke up, and that's really what happened. And now he's just trying to keep going. He's trying to hire someone to help him. So, he's not gonna. It's not like a pump and dump. So he's gonna keep working on it, which is really cool.
Yeah. And the nice thing for him is like once you have the attention, even if it was just a project he was just kind of messing around with on his own that like only he was using, well, now it's like a real thing, right? And he has the opportunity because he has the distribution to improve it and turn it into like a really real thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
They
excited to
interviewed
s-
him at YC, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens.
yeah, excited to see where it goes. I still think it's not magic. You could build this yourself pretty quickly, but maybe you don't have to. You can just go use OpenClaw if you're willing to accept the security risks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cohenberg says the GitHub stars graph on the repo is insane. Not even a hockey stick anymore, just a literal 90-degree angle. Yeah,
We call that stripper pole growth.
yeah, that's that stripper pole growth. All right. Well, this is the incredibly long show. I don't think we intended to go this long. Jan, our producer, I'm sorry because you
Yeah.
have your work cut out for you, dude. I'm sorry, but I appreciate all you do. So. Thank you for tuning in. This is Agents Hour. We do this every week on Monday, usually right around noon Pacific. We cover all the news. We talk about all that's going on, kind of if you're building AI agents. We talked with Sherwood from Sazabi about just observing systems and what that looks like in a new agentic world. We talked with Nick about workspaces in Mastra and talked about sandboxes, local file systems, agent skills. We talked with Tyler about observational memory and how our new observational memory system is best in class. It's state of the art. There's, I can say that today. Maybe at some point I can't say that anymore, but until
Yeah.
someone beats us, I'm going to keep saying it. So if you're interested in learning about what best in class agent memory looks like, go check out a research post on the Mastra website. And then we cover all the news. We're here every week. Next week, the timing might be a little different. So if you're tuning in now, just know like we got some traveling. So there might be a little bit, it might be later in the week next week, but we will still be here. It's just who knows what day. We'll let you know when we know. All right, dude. Send us off.
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Yeah. Thanks for watching the show. We really appreciate it. Peace.
Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI agents out with Shane and Abhi on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The Mastra.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abhi, we out of here. Peace.